Give me a second. Get everything started. Getting X set up real quick. I forgot to do the post for the stream. Testing the audio. Checking everything out. D-Live sounds good. X sounds good. Kick sounds good. So does Twitch. Now YouTube is up and going, and sounds good. So now I go into Rumble. Do a test with Rumble, see how that sounds. Sounds good so far on the Rumble Studio. Let me go into the actual stream and test that. I don't 100% believe Rumble anymore. Alright, so it all sounds good. We have everything set up and ready to go for my first episode of Weird Science. This is going to be good, so let me go ahead and do my countdown and we'll get into it. And after this, for anybody who's watching, I will also be simulcasting Censorship Sucks, which will be starting at 7:30, I believe. I'm not quite sure, but I believe it is. It's either at 7 or 7:30. I have made a post of it on X, so I can run in here and really take a look at it. Censorship Sucks, yeah. Let me see real quick. Yeah, it starts at 5:30 Pacific time, 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, and 7:30 Central Time, as well as 8:30 Eastern Time. If you're in London, Paris, Madrid, it's 1:30 a.m. in the morning, so I should probably edit that out. I messed up the PM on there, so that'll be next. Okay, so if you guys want to check that out, I will be streaming it on the Praetorian, my channel, the Praetorian, on Rumble and on YouTube, and they'll be just on the regular stream for Roger Hansen on Twitch, Kick, X, D-Live, and so forth. So with that being said, I'm going to do my countdown and I am going to go into my first episode of Weird Science. So actually, I got to get the frickin' talking points too. I guess that's important. Or the topics, I should say. Alright, so here we go. Got it all ready to go. I'll do my countdown and do my introduction and be ready to do the show. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, now. Hello everybody and welcome to the first episode of weird science. This is something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I've touched a little bit on weird science in other video series that I've done here and there, but I've never actually put together an entire series for just weird science. So here we go. This is the beginning of it. I'd like to welcome everybody to the first episode of Weird Science. I am Roger Hansen. I will be your host for this afternoon on the wonderful world of weirdness as well as strange stories on both YouTube and on Rumble. Well, the wonderful world of weirdness is both on Rumble and on YouTube. Strange stories is just on YouTube. So before I get started, let me point out that after I do this video, I am going to take it and upload this stream on Strange Story, and later on I will be breaking down these episodes into 15-minute videos so that it can be posted on the wonderful world of weirdness on YouTube and Rumble at a later time, so that if you guys want to watch it again, you can watch it and it'll be 15 minutes at a time instead of the full hour or so that you have here, because I've found that most people do enjoy watching just short 15-minute videos. So I've made it a point to have these videos full-length live stream, then have the ones that are edited down to 15 minutes. So gives you a little bit of a variety. So with that, I'm going to take a drink of coffee. I'm going to get on to my first topic. Okay. Study of how the brain interprets and reacts to information is deeply intertwined with the fields of electrophysiology, neuromodulation, and the identification of biomarkers. Together, these areas form a foundation for understanding how signals travel through the nervous system, how they are modulated, and how external data such as chemical plumes or biomarkers can be detected using sensors that translate frequency information into sine wave patterns. As science continues to bridge the gap between biological systems and advanced technology, the application of this knowledge allows us to build sensors and interpret complex data through wave analysis. This process connects the behavior of biological responses to the structure of oscillatory patterns, opening up new frontiers in detection, diagnostics, and even environmental surveillance. In the natural world, every signal generated by the nervous system has a wave-like character. For the action potentials traveling through neurons to the oscillations of the brain rhythms observed in critical activity, the nervous system relies heavily on time-based changes in voltage to carry the process information. The fundamental electrical signal, the action potential, can be observed using electrophysiological techniques that measure the voltage across cell membranes. When multiple neurons fire in synchrony, the result is a coordinated frequency pattern that contributes to a detectable signal such as a brainwave. This principle of signal coordination becomes essential when trying to replicate similar sensing mechanisms in artificial systems. Whether measuring a biomarker in the bloodstream or tracking airborne chemical plumes, modern sensors rely on similar principles of signaling processing and frequency modulation to interpret environmental information. Chemical plumes refer to collections of airborne molecules that disperse in the atmosphere due to turbulence, wind, temperature gradients, or other environmental factors. These plumes can originate from a variety of sources such as industrial facilities, natural gas leaks, or biological emissions. In order to detect and track these chemical signatures, specialized sensors are employed that are capable of identifying trace elements or compounds by analyzing their interaction with the medium surrounding the detector. When molecules from the plume come into contact with the sensor, they can generate a change in electrical properties such as resistance, capacitance, or charge distribution. This subtle shift in the sensor's state is then translated into a voltage signal, which is further processed and modulated into a waveform that can be interpreted for analysis. The key to making these readings meaningful lies in the way the data is transformed into a recognizable waveform, such as a sine wave. A sine wave is a smooth, periodic oscillation that represents a fundamental building block of all wave-based signals. To turn raw sensor data into a sine wave, the frequency content of the signal must first be extracted. Sensors are designed to react to specific chemical interactions at a defined frequency threshold, often in the range of kilohertz to megahertz, depending on the application. These interactions cause the output signal to oscillate at a corresponding frequency. This oscillation can be mapped in terms of amplitude and phase, producing a sinusoidal curve that represents the intensity and timing of the chemical presence. In signal processing, the process of modulation involves charging one or more properties of a carrier wave to encode the information of the input signal. Modulation can occur in various forms, including amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, and phase modulation. When detecting chemical plumes or biomarkers, sensors use a modulated carrier wave to track the changes caused by the chemical interaction. For instance, if the presence of a particular gas causes a slight shift in the dielectric constant of a sensing material, this can be converted into a variation in frequency. That variation can then be imposed on a sine wave carrier through frequency modulation, allowing a detailed waveform representation of the plume's presence and strength. Once the modulation signal is captured, it must be interpreted using software to or circuitry that can be reconstructed, or that can reconstruct the original environmental signal. This is typically done using a Fourier transform, which decomposes the wave into its constituent frequencies. The resulting frequency spectrum shows which chemicals are present and in what quantities based on known frequency signatures associated with each compound. These signatures act like fingerprints, allowing identification and qualification. The entire process, from chemical contact to signal generation to waveform modulation, results in a clear and actionable understanding of the environment. Biomarkers serve a similar role in the context of biological monitoring. A biomarker is a measurable substance in an organism whose presence is indicative of some phenomena, such as disease, inflammation, or exposure to toxins. Biomarkers can exist as protein, peptides, metabolites, or nucleic acids, and their detection often relies on similar principles of sensor technology and signal modulation. Biosensors designed to detect biomarkers usually rely on an interaction between the biomarker and a surface receptor. This interaction leads to an electric or optical change in the system, which is then captured and modulated into a measurable signal. Just like with chemical plumes, this signal is often represented as a waveform, allowing clinicians or researchers to evaluate health conditions or physiological states in real time. To enhance the accuracy of detecting such biomarkers, these sensors may incorporate resonant frequency elements such as piezoelectric crystals or microelectromechanical systems. When a biomarker binds to the surface, it adds mass or alters surface tensions, thereby changing the resonant frequency of the sensor. This frequency shift is picked up and encoded into a sinusoidal signal that is then analyzed in terms of amplitude and frequency modulation. This process enables a highly sensitive readout capable of detecting minute biological events. These frequencies are typically very specific, often in the range of tens to hundreds of kilohertz, depending on the nature of the biological material being examined. The structure of the resulting waveform contains a wealth of information. A sine wave that changes in amplitude may suggest the concentration of the biomarker is rising or falling. A phase shift might suggest that the response time of the interaction has changed due to temperature or pH conditions. The interpretation of these sine wave patterns enables researchers to infer underlying biological conditions that might otherwise be invisible to the naked eye. One of the most interesting applications of this science lies in the creation of synthetic neural circuits, or artificial detection systems that mimic the properties of the brain. Just as the nervous system adapts and modulates input through neuromodulators and long-term synaptic changes, modern sensing systems are beginning to adapt to changing input using artificial intelligence and learning algorithms. These systems track not only the presence of specific waveforms, but also their evolving patterns over time. By comparing live data against the stored database of waveform signatures, these synthetic systems can learn to recognize new patterns, adjust to environmental noise, and even predict future states based on the detected waveform trend. The relationship between waveform detection and environmental sensing leads to the idea of clandestine waves. These are waves that carry hidden, indirect, or encrypted information. Clandestine waves are often below the threshold of conscious detection, but still carry meaningful data in their shape and behavior. The concept can be expanded to cover sub-threshold waveforms in neural circuits, ultrasonic vibrations in sensor arrays, or minute chemical-induced oscillations in biological systems. These signals are not overt or obvious, but require advanced detection and interpretation tools to reveal the hidden order beneath the surface. By modulating these faint signals into sine waves and interpreting their frequency domain representation, a hidden layer of reality becomes visible. A key to interpreting these clandestine waves lies in pattern recognition and comparative waveform analysis. Once a base signal is identified and categorized, deviations from this pattern can be flagged for further investigation. Whether detecting the earlier stages of a disease or a trace plume from a leaking chemical tank, these deviations often serve as early warnings. The elegance of the sine wave allows for subtle fluctuations to be measured with precision, especially when high-resolution analog to digital converters and signal processing algorithms are used. To understand how these signals are measured in the field, consider how drones, satellites, and wearable health devices use arrays or sensors to scan the environment. Each sensor is tuned to respond to specific frequencies or chemical interactions. The signals they collect are processed in real time using onboard processors or cloud-based systems that reconstruct the waveform into interpretable data. The result is a sine wave pattern that represents the presence, strength, and dynamic behavior of the targeted chemical or biomarker. This allows not only the identification of what is being detected, but also provides insight into how it spreads. Change perspective, the frequency at which sensors must be modulated to detect such subtle interactions depends on the properties of the target compound. Lower frequencies are often used for large molecules in biomolecular or biomolecules due to their slower interaction kinetics. In contrast, higher frequencies are necessary for small gas molecules or volatile compounds that change rapidly. Choosing the correct frequency range is essential to produce a clean, detectable sine wave and avoid interference from background noise. Ultimately, the transformation of environmental or biological signals into sine waves offers a consistent, elegant method for interpreting the complex data surrounding us. These waves allow the integration of sensor technology with biological principles, creating a bridge between the inner and outer worlds. By understanding how these signals are modulated and processed, researchers and engineers are building more advanced systems capable of early detection, rapid response, and intelligent adaptation to changing inputs. As we continue to uncover the layered signals hidden within natural systems, the humble sine wave becomes a powerful tool, not only for scientific analysis, but also for navigating the unseen architecture of reality. Whether in the brain's cerebellar structure, the electrochemical modulation of neural modulators, or the oscillatory response of a chemical detector, waveforms serve as a fundamental expression of change, continuity, and interpretation. This deep relationship between wave, frequency, and information will continue to guide our understanding of everything from cognition to climate, medicine to mechanics, biology to information theory. Freeman Dyson and Freeman Dyson's ideas about advanced civilizations constructing vast energy harvesting structures around stars inspired not only science fiction, but also real scientific efforts to search for signs of such astro-engineering projects in the cosmos. Modern astronomical surveys have incorporated elements of Dyson's thought experiment into their search strategies, particularly in the field known as the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. This has led to studies that aim to detect the kind of telltale infrared signatures Dyson predicted, using increasingly sophisticated telescopes and data analysis techniques. The core idea Dyson proposed was that a civilization building a sphere or swarm to capture most or all of its star's light would necessarily have to dispose of the collection energy somehow. According to the law of thermodynamics, this energy would eventually be re-emitted as heat, most likely as infrared radiation. From a great distance, such a star would appear dim or even invisible in invisible light while shining brightly in the infrared portion of the spectrum. Modern surveys have tried to detect such anomalies by searching for stars or entire galaxies that radiate more heat than expected for their visible brightness. One of the earliest large-scale efforts inspired by Dyson's idea was conducted by researchers using data from the Infrared Astronomical Satellite, which operated in the 1980s. Scientists examined data from tens of thousands of stars, looking for sources with unusual infrared emissions that could not easily be explained by natural astrophysical processes, such as dust clouds or the aftermath of stellar birth and death. While these studies identified some objects with excess infrared radiation, natural explanations always fit the data more convincingly than artificial ones. In the modern era, surveys using more advanced instruments like the Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer have extended this work. Astronomers have scanned millions of stars and galaxies in search of the kind of infrared excess that could signal large-scale astroengineering. In 2015, for example, a group led by Jason Wright at Pennsylvania State University published a study that analyzed data on hundreds of thousands of galaxies, searching for cases where the infrared output suggested significant energy reprocessing by something other than stars or dust. The study found no definitive evidence of galaxies re-radiating energy in a way consistent with massive artificial structures like Dyson spheres. However, it did identify some candidates worthy of further study, where the source of the infrared emission is not entirely understood. In addition to looking at entire galaxies, astronomers have applied Dyson's logic to individual stars. One of the most famous cases that drew attention in recent years was the star known as KIC 8462852, often nicknamed Tabby's star. This star exhibited strange and irregular dimming patterns detected by the Kepler Space Telescope. Although the primary hypothesis for these dimming events focused on natural phenomena like clouds or dust or debris from shattered comets, the unusual signal of the light curve led some to speculate, at least initially, that it could be evidence of a partial Dyson swarm or other large artificial structure orbiting the star. Follow-up observations, particularly in the infrared, showed no excess waste heat, leading most scientists to favor natural explanations. Nonetheless, the case illustrates how Dyson's ideas continue to shape how we interpret strange astronomical phenomena and what we look for when searching for evidence of advanced technology. Modern searches inspired by Dyson's vision have also begun to consider more subtle and diverse signatures. For example, researchers have proposed looking for narrow-band artificial laser emissions from stars that might serve as communication beacons. Others have considered the possibility of detecting unusual patterns of star dimming and brightening caused by megastructures transiting their stars, much like how exoplanets are discovered. Some astronomers have proposed looking for signs of thermal management on planetary or system scales, where an advanced civilization might be deliberately cooling its environment or moving waste heat into space in ways that could be detected. Large astronomical surveys, such as the Legacy Survey of Space and Time, set to be conducted by the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, may offer new opportunities to apply Dyson's ideas. The unprecedented depth and breadth of this survey will produce data on billions of stars and galaxies, enabling scientists to search for subtle anomalies in brightness, color, and variability that might hint at the presence of artificial structures or energy use on mass scales. The concept centers on the idea that a sufficiently advanced civilization faced with ever-growing energy demands would seek to harness the full energy output of its central star, instead of relying solely on the limited solar energy reaching a single planet. This civilization might construct a vast assembly of structures orbiting the star, designed to capture and utilize almost all of its emitted radiation. This construct would likely not be a single solid shell, but rather a swarm of independent satellites or habitats arranged in dense formation around the star. Each component would collect solar energy for civilization's needs. Because the total energy output of the star would be intercepted, the visible light escaping the system would be greatly diminished. However, according to thermodynamic principles, the captured energy would eventually be emitted as waste heat, primarily in the form of infrared radiation. From an observational perspective, such a system would appear as an object emitting a high level of infrared radiation, but significantly reduced visible light compared to a typical star. This led to the suggestion that astronomical surveys could search for these infrared excesses as potential indicators of advanced technological activity. The idea emerged as a thought experiment aimed at guiding the search for extraterrestrial intelligence by identifying unusual astrophysical structures that could not be easily explained by natural processes. It has inspired numerous investigations to detect stars or galaxies exhibiting anomalous infrared emissions that might hint at large-scale artificial energy harvesting. Over time, the concept has been expanded and refined, giving rise to more complex models involving nested layers of energy collecting shells designed to maximize efficiency by channeling heat from inner layers outward. These multi-layered constructs resemble the nesting dolls of Russian tradition, symbolizing the layered approach. Such structures have been theorized to function not only as energy collectors, but also as vast computational platforms. In a study led by Jason Wright and his colleagues, the team sifted through an enormous dataset gathered by the Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, or WISE, which had scanned the entire sky in the infrared spectrum. Infrared light is particularly useful for this kind of search because, according to thermodynamic principles, any large-scale energy consumption by an advanced civilization, such as capturing a star's output via megastructures, would eventually be emitted as waste heat in the form of infrared radiation. Among the hundreds of thousands of galaxies examined, most exhibited infrared emissions that could be explained by well understood astrophysical phenomena. These include star formation regions where clouds of dust heated by young stars glow brightly in the infrared, or the presence of active galactic nuclei, supermassive black holes at galaxy centers that emit radiation across the spectrum. However, Wright's team found a small number of galaxies whose mid-infrared output was significantly higher than expected, given their visible light and their observable characteristics. These galaxies appeared to be reprocessing an extraordinary amount of energy, with their infrared brightness exceeding typical levels without clear signs of usual resources like intense star formation or active nuclei. This anomaly raised the intriguing possibilities that such infrared accesses could be the result of non-natural processes, specifically large-scale artificial energy use and waste heat emission consistent with hypothetical megastructures or astro-engineering projects on a galactic scale. In other words, these galaxies might be partially or wholly enshrouded by structures or systems capturing and re-emitting energy in ways that do not align with known natural astrophysics. Despite the excitement this suggested, the researchers were cautious. They emphasized that alternative natural explanations could still account for the observations. For instance, unusual dust properties, previously unrecognized astrophysical processes, or transient phenomena might produce similar infrared signatures. The data resolution and sensitivity also limited the ability to distinguish between these possibilities definitively. The development of brain-computer interface capable of restoring speech through direct neural decoding represents one of the most exciting frontiers in neuroscience and biomedical engineering. This technology brings together the fields of neural physiology, materials science, machine learning, and speech synthesis. I will describe in detail the microelectrode arrays that capture neural signals, the neural patterns involved in speech production, the computing systems that decode these signals into speech in real time, and the specific devices and products that enable these breakthroughs. Microelectrode arrays are highly specialized tools that serve as the interface between living brain tissue and electronic equipment. They are composed of grids or clusters of extremely small electrodes, often made from biocompatible materials such as silicon, platinum, and iridium. These electrodes are designed to either penetrate the brain or sit on its surface, depending on the goals of the study or therapy. The size of each electrode is typically measured in micrometers, allowing the array to detect the electrical activity of individual neurons or small groups of neurons. The electrodes can record the electrical impulses known as action potentials, as well as broader local field potentials, which reflect the activity of neuron populations. The signals gathered are extremely small in amplitude and require amplification and filtering before they can be processed. Some arrays are designed for recording only, while others can both record and stimulate neural tissues. The choice of array depends on the application, the target region of the brain, and the intended duration of implantation. Speech production involves the coordinated activity of several brain regions, each contributing distinct functions. The inferior frontal gyrus, known commonly as Broca's area, plays a critical role in planning the movements needed for speech. It generates the sequence of motor commands required to produce particular sounds. The primary motor cortex executes these commands by sending signals to muscles involved in speech, including those controlling the lips, tongue, larynx, and diaphragm. The supplementary motor area and premotor cortex contribute to initiating speech and preparing the movement patterns. The auditory cortex provides feedback by processing the sound of the speaker's own voice, allowing real-time adjustments. The posterior superior temporal gyrus, often called Wernicke's area, is involved in the comprehension of language and links meaning to speech production. The neural signals involved in speech are time-locked and highly organized. They consist of action potentials that encode precise timing information needed to control speech muscles and local field potentials that reflect the synchronized activity of neural circuits. These signals are mapped somewhat topically in the motor cortex, meaning specific regions of the cortex correspond to control of specific muscles or muscle groups. Brain-computer interface systems designed to restore speech must capture these signals and translate them into audio output with very low delay. This requires sophisticated computing hardware capable of real-time processing. The neural signals are first acquired using systems like the Blackrock Neural Port or Blackrock Cerebus. These platforms support recording from arrays such as the Utah array, which features 96 or more electrodes capable of sampling at rates up to 30,000 hertz per channel. Ripple Grapevine is another platform used for neural signal acquisition, providing similar capabilities. The raw neural data is passed to processing hardware, which may include digital signal processors, field programmable gate arrays, or graphic processing units. These components handle the initial filtering, amplification, and feature extraction steps. Field programmable gate arrays such as the Zentex or Altera Stratix series are often chosen for their ability to process large volumes of data in parallel with minimal delay. Once the features are extracted, the neural decoder takes over. This is typically implemented on powerful computing hardware such as servers equipped with Intel Xeon processors or on embedded platforms like the NVIDIA Jetson Xavier or Jetson Orin. These platforms run machine learning models that map the neural features of phonemes, syllables, or full words. The models may include recurrent neural networks, long, short-term memory networks, or transformer-based architectures. The decoders are trained on data collected from the individual user, allowing the system to learn that person's unique neural patterns. After decoding, the output is passed to a speech synthesizer that generates audio. The synthesizer may use traditional parametric techniques such as format synthesis or modern neural network based models like fast speed or waveglow. The entire processing chain from neural signal acquisition to audio output is designed to operate with latency below 25 milliseconds. This is critical because human speakers expect to hear their own voice almost instantly when they speak. Any delay greater than this can disrupt the natural flow of conversation. Specific systems that have demonstrated this capability include the speech neural prosthesis developed at the University of California, San Francisco. This system combines BlackRock neural port recording hardware, field programmable gate array processing, Intel Xeon server class decoding computers, and real-time neural speech synthesis. The Stanford University BrainGate collaborators have used similar setups, pairing BlackRock hardware with custom field programmable gate array pre-processing and custom neural decoders. Paradromics is developing a platform called Argo, which aims to provide massively parallel neural recording combined with low latency decoding. Though still in development, Argo represents the next generation of high channel count brain computer interfaces. The neural decoders employed in these systems are highly specialized. They must interpret patterns of spikes and local field potentials across dozens or hundreds of channels, converting them into linguistics units in real time. The models are often pruned or simplified versions of larger deep learning architectures, optimized to run at high speed on dedicated hardware. They continuously update predictions as new neural data streams in, ensuring the output is fluid and responsive. The speech synthesizers that follow are designed to produce intelligible, natural-sounding speech with correct pitch, tone, and rhythm. Systems such as WaveGlow or real-time variants of Tacotron have been adapted for this purpose, often running on graphics processing units to meet the demanding performance requirements. The success of these systems represents a major milestone in the development of assistive technologies for people who have lost the ability to speak. Unlike earlier interfaces that allowed users to select letters one by one, these speech neural prosthetics can restore natural conversational speed and expressiveness. They capture not just the content of what the person wants to say, but also the emotional tone and prosody that are so important for effective communication. The systems also highlight the importance of cross-disciplinary collaboration. Advances in electrode design, signal processing algorithms, machine learning models, and speech synthesis have all contributed to these breakthroughs. Each component must function at the highest level of performance to enable real-time speech restoration. Looking ahead, researchers aim to refine these technologies further. One goal is to improve the accuracy of vocabulary size. Is to improve the accuracy and vocabulary size of the decoders so that users can produce more complex and varied speech. Another priority is to make the hardware smaller, more power efficient, and less invasive. Flexible electrodes flexible electro arrays that conform more closely to the brain's surface are under development to reduce tissue damage and inflammatory responses. Wireless systems that eliminate the need for tethered connections are also being pursued, as they would reduce infection risk and improve user comfort. Ethical and regulatory considerations are becoming increasingly important as these systems move closer to clinical development or deployment. Issues of privacy, data security, and equitable access must be addressed to ensure that the technology benefits all who need it. The integration of microelectrode arrays, neural signal decoding, and high-performance computing has enabled the creation of brain-computer interfaces that can restore speech in real time. These specific devices involved include the BlackRock neural port, the Cerebus systems, Ripple Grapevine interfaces, field programmable gate arrays like Xilinx, Kintex, and Altera Stratix, NVIDIA Jetson embedded processors, Intel Xeon servers, and speech synthesis software such as Waveglow and Fast Speech. These components work together to capture, interpret, and vocalize the neural signals associated with speech, providing a powerful tool for individuals with severe speech impairments. Continued research and development promises to make these systems even more capable, accessible, and transformative in the years to come. So there we go. That is the first episode for Weird Science. I will be back again, possibly next week. I'm not quite sure. We have some issues that have been going on concerning electricity. We may have a technician coming in at some time next week. We really don't know for sure when. So some of my streams may be postponed until the following week. I'm not positive on that. And even when it does happen, I'm not sure which one it's going to affect. So it could be this stream, it could be the next stream, it could be the one after it. I do not know. I'm going through checking. It doesn't look like we have any comments in the comment section, so that means I don't have to talk. With that being said, I hope that you guys did enjoy this stream, and I am also going to say again that here in about another hour I will be restreaming or simulcasting Censorship Sucks Roundtable, and that will be coming up at 7:30 Central Standard Time, I believe, and I will go from, hold up, what am I talking about? Yeah, I will be doing that at 7:30. So if you guys want to check that out, you can check that out on my other channel called The Praetorian, or you can just go to Dregus Production and watch it directly either way. With that, like I said, if you guys like this, please like, subscribe, share, make comments, leave comments in the comment sections, guys. I've been saying that over and over again. I'm gonna say it till the end of time. It's very important. It helps with the channel. And besides that, I like to have conversations in the comment section. So if you don't have any feedback or anything, just say hi. Let me know that you're there, and have a conversation with me. So with that, I'm going to end the show. I hope you guys have a good day, and I will talk to you later.